Good afternoon, everyone. In today's video, we are going to be looking at a new tropical disturbance in the Atlantic, which will be heading towards the Caribbean and could have the chance of becoming our fourth named storm of the season. Now, right now, we are looking at the Atlantic-wide satellite imagery. As you can see right now, not much is going on in the Atlantic. We have a low pressure system up here in northeast currently, and then we have that tropical disturbance. You can see a little bit of circulation with that low pressure down here with that tropical disturbance, and we also have a tropical wave and maybe some more tropical waves currently over Africa. And here is the current look at the National Hurricane Center 7-day graphical tropical weather outlook as of 1:16 p.m. Eastern time. As you can see, there's the disturbance right here with that X marked quite a bit ways from the Western Antilles to the east. We have an arrow with that pointing to this orange area, so this will be headed generally into this area. We don't know where it's going to go once it's in this orange area, so that's why it's kind of that cone. As you can see, Cuba's in that, Puerto Rico, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, stuff like that is in that orange area. So this disturbance will be headed in towards this direction, but it won't really start developing until it gets to this area. So that's why it kind of looks like this on the tropical weather outlook. This does have a 50% chance of a cyclone formation in 5 days through 7 days, and then a near 0% chance through 48 hours. And look at the current GFS model. There's our disturbance right down here. Here is the Bermuda High. The GFS does not have much going on with this system. As we move forward, the system, of course, moves into the Caribbean, but as you can see, it mostly brings rainfall, and there's really no formation of isobars in this region. You can see it actually appear right near Florida around late August 3rd, and that's when it's in the Gulf of Mexico, but really nothing forms with the GFS model after that. And as you can see, hurricane in there in the eastern Pacific around August 5th or so. You might see another eastern Pacific hurricane. But what's weird with the system is that it heads into the Gulf, really doesn't form. It stays really close to the coast of Florida and Alabama. But as you can see, we get to around August 6th, and you can see it kind of goes stationary at a standstill right off the coast of New Orleans, and it forms into a system right off the coast of New Orleans, still stationary, and it finally makes landfall. But that is pretty unrealistic. I don't think that's going to happen with the system at all. And as we look at the European model, you can see the system brings some rain to the Caribbean, heads throughout the Caribbean with, again, rainfall, and it's still existing on August 3rd. It heads close to the coast of Florida, and it looks like it might form into maybe a tropical depression around August 4th, August 5th, just off the east coast of Florida, and then heading into the Carolinas. This is, again, over a week out, so take this with a grain of salt, but we're going to be watching this system over the next week or so, and this either could be a huge bust, or we might see our next named tropical storm, depending on the factors and where this storm really goes. It's really not going to form into much if it heads through the Caribbean through most of its lifetime. But if it's given a chance with some waters and not much shear, it could have a chance of becoming a tropical depression or tropical storm. Now here's a CMC model. The CMC model is very similar to the European model, and this is why I think the National Hurricane Center has that 50% chance of formation within the next week or so, because of the CMC model and the European model. As you can see, it heads through the Caribbean with rainfall, and then heads literally right next to Florida, just like the European model, and then heads and then finally starts to form into a depression or even tropical storm once it's just off the east coast of the United States, and heads off kind of like a nor'easter, and then heads off towards Nova Scotia and eventually into a non-tropical system. And here's the Icon model, which it kind of heads over to the west coast of Florida, heads through Florida, and then starts to form into a tropical system around August 5th. So again, these models are trying to make something with this disturbance that we're gonna have to watch over the next week as it heads to the Caribbean. This could definitely be one of the more interesting systems of this hurricane season. Now, looking at current sea surface temperatures of the Atlantic Ocean, you can see the Atlantic is currently very warm, especially the Gulf of Mexico. Around this time of year, it really starts to heat up, and you can see 30 to 31, and even closer to the coast of Florida, we're seeing 32 Celsius, which is extremely warm. So really any cyclone, really any system that enters this area, given with no shear, it will really explode in this environment. Just off the coast of Florida, which is East Coast, you can see very warm waters as well. 31, even maybe isolated 32 Celsius once again, and that's where that system is going to be headed. We're seeing warm waters in the Caribbean, but not super warm. But if it does head in that track, it could definitely have some sort of rapid intensification into a depression or a tropical storm. Definitely not a hurricane. It's not going to have any time to develop into a hurricane. So right now, the ceiling for this storm is going to be a named tropical storm. If it's given that eastern track, if it heads into the Gulf, it's really not going to form into anything. I think due to some shear worries if it does enter the Gulf. Speaking of shear, as you can see right now, this is right now. So a lot of the shear is going to change over the next week because it's wind. It's going to change, so it's not going to be this exact map. But right now, as you can see, for the path of this storm, we really do not have much shear at all across the Caribbean and then heading up to Florida. So here's Florida right up here. This is the Caribbean where I'm circling. As you can see, this path kind of goes up to here, which this path does not really have much shear at all. Pretty favorable conditions, but again, this will change as time moves on. We do have a little bit of pocket of shear, but I do expect that to move. But again, this system is going to be really interesting to track, and I think this could become an invest probably within the next few days, depending on what it does. If you did enjoy the video, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you are new and turn on post notifications. You won't miss a single video or live stream on the channel. Make sure to like the video as well, but as always, I'll see you in the next one. Stay safe.